You hear the word introvert all the time, right? But what does it actually mean? For a lot of people, the first word that comes to mind is just shy. But it turns out that is not even close to the whole story. So today, we're going to dive into the real, nuanced world of what it means to be an introvert.
So, when I say introvert, what's the first word that pops into your head? If you thought shy, hey, you're definitely not alone. It's the biggest misconception out there. But it's just one tiny and often totally incorrect piece of a much, much bigger puzzle.
And you know, this isn't just a hunch. It's actually backed by some serious psychology. Researchers at Wellesley College found that introversion isn't just one single thing. Instead, they identified 4 totally distinct types, creating a framework they call the STAR model. Let's break them down.
First up, we have the social introvert. Now, I know, social introvert? That sounds like a complete contradiction, right? But stick with me here, because this type is actually incredibly common.
Okay, so the core idea here, and this is pretty fascinating, is that it's not about a fear of people. It's all about a preference for intimacy. Social introverts aren't antisocial at all. They're what you'd call selectively social. They just choose their battles carefully to conserve their energy. So think about it this way. A social introvert would take a deep one-on-one chat over trying to shout over music at a crowded party any day of the week. It's all about that social battery, you know? Small, meaningful interactions are awesome. But a big party drains that battery super fast. They need that quiet, alone time to plug back in and get a full charge.
All right, let's move on to number 2. This one is less about who you're with and way more about what's going on inside your own head. Meet the thinking introvert.
This type of introvert basically lives inside their own head, and I mean that in the best way possible. They're introspective, they're imaginative, and they've got this rich internal world that is just constantly buzzing with ideas and daydreams.
Have you ever been talking to someone and their eyes just kind of drift off for a second and then they snap back and say this exact thing? Well, you've probably just had an encounter with a thinking introvert. They're not being rude, they just took a quick little vacation inside one of their thought bubbles.
So what this means is, even though they might look like they're totally zoned out on the outside, on the inside, their brain is firing on all cylinders. They're busy daydreaming, replaying an experience, or using their imagination to solve a tricky problem.
Okay, so our third type is the anxious introvert. And this is where that classic idea of shyness finally makes an appearance. But trust me, it's way more complex than just being a little quiet. For this type, wanting to be alone isn't just a simple preference. It's driven by social anxiety. They don't just enjoy solitude. They actively seek it out because being around other people can feel really awkward and just painful. For them, being alone feels safe. And here's the real kicker for the anxious introvert: rumination. This is when you replay conversations over and over and over in your head, right? You're picking apart every little thing you said, worrying about how it came across. It's absolutely exhausting, which is why just staying home can feel like such a massive relief.
And that brings us to our fourth and final type, the restrained introvert. This one is all about their personal pace, their own internal rhythm. They aren't anxious or anti-crowd, they're just deliberate.
I absolutely love this analogy. It's like they need to boot up. A restrained introvert isn't going to be the person who just dives headfirst into a new situation. They need a moment to warm up, to observe, to kind of get their engine going at their own speed.
So you might see them hanging back, just watching from the sidelines for a bit before they join a conversation. They really think before they speak. And hey, that whole not a morning person thing, that is classic restrained introvert. They just need a minute to fully load for the day ahead.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap here. We've got the 4 types, and what's really important is what they are not. Remember, social isn't antisocial. Thinking doesn't mean they're aloof. Anxious is way more than just a preference. And restrained doesn't mean they're uninterested or cold. This gives us a much, much better way to understand introversion.
So as you're looking at all this, does one of these just scream, "That's me"? Or maybe you see a little bit of yourself in a couple of them. And look, this is a super important point. These aren't meant to be rigid boxes that you have to fit into. The reality is, most of us are a unique blend. You could totally be a restrained introvert who also has that rich inner world of a thinking introvert. It's all about which traits feel the most like you. So if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Introversion is not some simple, one-size-fits-all label. It's a huge, complex spectrum. It's about how you manage your own energy. It's a rich, complex, and totally normal way of being. And it is absolutely, positively not just about being shy.